The spirit of gluttony. We all have done it, the spirit of gluttony. I had someone to ask me regarding is gluttony a sin? Yes, it is. The spirit of gluttony is a sin. If we overeat, that is gluttony. If we overdrink, yes, if you overdrink, that's a gluttony. A lot of people are drunkards. And the Bible speaks about drunkards when it's talking about gluttony along with food. And it says that is a sin that is called gluttony. Now, let's go to the scriptures regarding gluttony. Gluttony and is a sin. But, if we've all done it. But some people do it every day. They drink every day and they get drunk. That's gluttony. If you didn't understand and didn't know that, that is called gluttony. Along with overeating food, that is gluttony. And we can ask for forgiveness when it comes to that. Now, some people overeat and it turns to gluttony because they're eating with their feelings. They might get anxiety. They might feel depressed. And a lot of people use food for comfort, but that's just a spirit. And that spirit is gluttony. Anything you overdo can be a sin. But we're speaking on gluttony right now. So let's go to scripture, okay? Let's go to Philippians 3:19. And it reads, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things. Next, let's go to Proverbs 23:21. It says, for the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. See, this is saying that we're headed to poverty if we're drunken. And gluttony, it comes to poverty. It turns you into poverty. And it also clothes a man. It also, after you eat, you get kind of tired. And then it says, and drowsiness. So when you overdrink, you get drowsy because you're a drunkard. It's drinking, whatever type of liquor or beverage you're drinking that makes you drowsy. This is what this is talking about in Proverbs 23:21. Now let's go to Proverbs 23:20. And I'm reading from the NLT on this one. It reads, it says, do not caucus with drunkards, meaning to gather with drunkards, or feast with gluttons. See, it got caucus, it got drunkards and gluttons in it together. And then it says, for they are on their way to poverty, and too much sleep clothes them in rags. See, too much sleep clothes them in rags because they get drunk and they overeat. And it turns it into poverty. It's saying it turns us into poverty. The last verse says, listen to your father who gave you life, and don't despise your mother when she is old. So we see here these verses are saying that don't hang out with drunkards and don't overeat, because both of those things are called gluttony. And it also says these two things bring you into poverty. So in the spiritual realm, because this is a spiritual gluttony, in the spiritual realm, everything works. It reacts as what you do. So in the spiritual realm, it automatically turns when you're gluttoning, overeating, and when you're gluttoning, over drinking, and you get drunkards, because it's speaking about drunkards, you turn into poverty. Your life turns into poverty automatically. You wondering why you can't get ahead. Just think about, somebody that drinks a lot, or somebody on the street, you see them, they're just drunks and they're just drinking. They're in poverty. And you might have a family member that does a lot of drinking that you might see from day to day or every week. They drinking, they overdrink, but they living poorly. They living in poverty. See, in the spiritual realm, it automatically takes you there. it takes you to poverty. And gluttony is the same thing because, like I said, some people just overeat because they might be depressed. They may have a lot of anxiety going on. They might just be unhappy and they eat. A lot of people do that. I've known some people, and then they're overweight, and then they're in poverty. You see, they don't have much, and they're struggling. So gluttony and drunkard, we see it sends us into poverty. So that is a spirit, that's an evil spirit. It's a spirit of gluttony. And a lot of people don't understand that. But we've all known somebody who overeats, and we all know somebody who's drunk. If it's nobody we know some people on the streets that we see that's always drinking. And it's also the same thing as getting high, smoking weed. You're getting because when you smoke that weed, it's messing with your brain, your memory, okay, your thoughts, and you get high, and it takes you into it takes you into the spiritual world illegally when you are getting high. But we're talking about gluttony and poverty. Gluttony turns you into poverty, and gluttony is drinking. Speaking of drinking and eating, is gluttony. But again, smoking weed sends you into the legal realm too. It's a spiritual thing, a legal spiritual realm. And people think pot, they call it marijuana, however you want to call it. It is illegal in the spiritual realm. But you might say, well, here on earth, in the physical realm, oh, it is legal. But in the spiritual realm, it's illegal. Because once again, you open yourself up. You open doors. When you get high, it takes you into a different realm, another realm. I remember when I was dating this guy. Oh, it was years ago. I might have been in my mid-20s, late 20s. And he used to like to smoke pot. And he said he was smoking pot one day, and he was in between believing in Jesus and halfway not believing. So he said he was smoking weed one night in his room, and he's told God, he said, if you real, show yourself to him. So what he did, he said, prove his, he told Jesus to prove himself. So show himself. I think he said show himself to him. And so what happened was, he said like 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes later, he was smoking pot, and he saw something in his room. And the image that he saw, he wouldn't tell me what he saw. I think he said he wasn't supposed to tell me, but he just told me he couldn't tell me. I said, what did you see? He would never tell me what he saw. And so I think whatever he saw, he told God to show himself to him. And I guess God did. But he said he just broke down. When he told me, he just broke down and started crying. Because I guess whatever he saw, it was so amazing, and it put fear in him. And he just broke down and started crying. I said, what is it? Just tell me what it looked like. It reminded me of my older brother. My older brother used to love to smoke pot too, but it didn't send him into the spiritual realm. But my brother, even at 5 years old growing up, he used to be able to see in the spirit realm, meaning anything in that room that was invisible and from the spiritual realm, if it's in that room, he could see it. Now I could feel the spirits, and I'm very discerning of seeing and feeling spirits or something around in the rooms. But he was always able to see if it's anything in the room that's walking around and lurking around. My brother could see it. And I remember I told him to, because when he was 5 years old, when he first started seeing these deities, these evil spirits, because we was living in a haunted house, and he was only taught at 5 years old. I remember I walked him to the toilet and came back out. I told him to call me when he's ready, because I was 4 years older than him. And it was in the house. My grandmother was babysitting us. And so he said, he yelled, and then he ran out the bathroom with his pants around his knees, and he was out of breath when he ran into the kitchen. And I was in there with my grandmother, because she was our babysitter when my mom and dad was at work. He came out the bathroom like something was in there. He pointed. And my grandmother, she's the type. She was Muddeer before Muddeer was here, around. So she always carried a gun in her purse, a pistol. She grabbed a pistol like this, and she walked in that bathroom, and she said, "What is it? What is it?" And he pointed. And he finally got his breath. He told her, he said, "I seen something with a creepy hand." He was sitting on the toilet. The shower curtain in the tub was set across from us. He said he saw an evil, creepy hand pulling the shower curtains back, and but he ran. So he could see the spirit, that evil spirit, and how ugly it looks. And from 5 years old on up. Now, we're going to fast forward this to when I was moving years ago, when I think I might have been 30, in my 30s then, and he had a truck. So I needed my bed railings to be taken and broken down and put in the truck to take over to my new apartment. And I told him, "Hey, bro, you got a truck?" He said, "Well, I can use a company truck. I don't have a truck, and I come and break down your bed railings." So I didn't tell him it was a spirit in that apartment that I was moving out of. It was somebody that got murdered in an apartment, and so I didn't stay long. I stayed maybe 6 months, and I moved out. And I didn't tell him. He went in there and he broke down the beds, and I just sitting there watching him. He didn't say anything. I didn't see anything. He didn't look around in the room like he saw anything. He was just breaking the beds down kind of fast. So we got in the truck. He got everything in the truck, and we sat in the truck. We didn't leave yet. He was just started smoking a cigarette. And he was quiet. And he's, a minute went by. I said, "Bro, you see anything? It was spirits." And he said, "I know. Why you think I was breaking those beds down so fast?" And we kind of started laughing a little bit. I said, "Hey, bro, just tell me, what do those spirits look like?" And he said, "Sis, you don't want to know." I said, "Yes, I do want to know what they look like." Because, I said I knew the spirit was there. I could always can sense the spirit and see the spirit. But he wouldn't tell me. So it's sometimes they can't tell us about the spirits. But I'm here to tell us what those things look like. Maybe they just scared, or God tell them not to tell us. But I'm here to pick up my daughter. I just want to tell you that gluttony and overeating and over drinking is both gluttony, and it will keep you in poverty. But you have to pray to the Most High God. He can help you come out of it. I hope this bless you. Stay blessed.